Whether you are watching TV, sipping wine, or wondering why in the world is Alabama playing New Mexico State at 11 o'clock in the morning, whatever you may be doing, you're rocking and rolling with the Fun Gang, the #1 show of all things Crimson Tide. Football news, in my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith. Touchdown Alabama Magazine, bringing you the show from the magic city of Birmingham, streaming you the show on YouTube. Speaking of the channel, go ahead right now, drop that thumbs up, give a like on the show, hit that subscribe button, turn all of those notifications on, hit that little bell so that way you can get all the news, notes, updates, and coverage on your favorite program, that being the Crimson Tide. We got a lot to get into this evening. We got you covered on Facebook and Twitter as well in terms of the show streaming. We got a lot to get to. No guest tonight, just me, but I want to hear from you. We all want to hear from you. Blow the phone lines up, blow the chat line up with your conversations, your thoughts, your passion right here. 205-448-1358, number to call in to let your voice be heard on the show. 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. Daily Super Chat goes $75. Daily Super Chat going. Appreciate the love from all of you, whether you're watching the show on TV, on YouTube, via tablet, via phone, whatever your technical device is. We appreciate you guys making this your show, your network, your channel, your platform for all things Crimson Tide. But we're going to start this conversation off here with this right here. And, Coach Saban, normally this is a preseason / early in the season issue between the first 1 to 3 games of a season where you have teams that discuss, we don't quite know what our identity, what our team chemistry is just yet. Normally, this is for preseason. Normally, this is for the first couple of games of the regular season as you're trying to discover and develop who you are and what you are as a program. And I remember Coach Saban in fall camp, he spoke on it. This team has to find its identity. You can't live on the coattails of what teams prior to you have done. Yes, the teams before you laid a foundation and kept that foundation going, and no, you do not want to let those guys down, but at the same time, you have to figure out, you have to put together, you have to discover what your particular identity is for any respective specific team. And this is what Coach Saban stressed to reporters during the preseason. And we are 9 games into the regular season, and he is still having the same song and dance. He's still having the same sentiment. He's still having the same stanza on. We got to develop an identity for this year's team. We do not quite know still what we are yet. Coach Saban mentioned that in Thursday's episode, or Thursday's airing of his radio show, Hey Coach. And this has me thinking right now, Bama Nation. Will this Alabama football team find an identity? I understand it's getting late in the year. The time is winding down. The clock is ticking. You're at this point where the college football playoff is starting to really kind of sort of take shape. And these people in the committee, they want to know who are the contenders from the pretenders, who are the teams that are really out there doing it versus the teams that we can pretty much weed out of the spectrum right now. So in your mind, Bama Nation, can Alabama, will the Crimson Tide, will Coach Saban and this team find its identity as we're headed down the stretch here after New Mexico State, 2 games remaining in Alabama's regular season, and discussing Arkansas and Auburn? And hearing Coach Saban Thursday, this brings all the more importance to Saturday's game. This brings all the more urgency to Saturday's game. This brings all the more keen focus to Saturday, and U.S. callers talked about it on Wednesday. Of course, nobody's going to be concerned about New Mexico State. The College Football Playoff Committee is not concerned. The national audience is not concerned. This game does not impress anybody, but this game ultimately is one where the players themselves, the student athletes themselves for Alabama, have to look within and go, how bad do we want to be great? How bad do we want to be dominant? how bad do we want to be special? How bad do we want to be elite, especially when you have LSU coach Ed Orgeron, after a loss, is telling reporters, we still dominated them. We still drugged them. We still killed them. They're not as good as they used to be. They're not as good as they once were. They might be the best team in the country, but they did not look like it on last week. And this is Coach O talking about Alabama even after his team sustained a 14-20 loss to the Tide. So when you have that going on, when you have the outside noise saying, Alabama not a strong, consistent, concrete number 2 team or a concrete team, when you look at the 4 seeds in the college football playoff, this is a game where you got to show for yourself as a player. You got to show for yourself as a coach. You got to show for yourself as the Crimson Tide football organization. We are the real deal. We are who everybody knows we can be. And Saban mentioned this on Thursday. This team has all the capability and the ability to play like it knows it can play, to play like it knows it can go out there and have big success in this moment. It's how much do you want to have this success? How much do you want to dominate New Mexico State? How much do you want to really build some confidence for yourself moving forward to the last 2 games of the regular season? And even with, you look at, Saban even assessed Bill O'Brien during the Hey Coach show on Thursday, and he talked about it. Coach O'Brien's done a great job. He's coached well. He's done a fine job here with the offense. And even with him, bouncing back from a matchup where you only scored 20 points, your lowest scoring output all season, and your lowest scoring output in the last 3 to 4 years, going back to 2018. So this is a big game right here. This is a big situation right here. Normally, you don't see an Alabama team waiting until the last couple of weeks of the season to find what's its identity, what's its chemistry, what's the team morale. You usually don't wait till the last 3 to 4 games. Normally, by the middle of the season, Alabama has it together. Or normally, if it's a really good Alabama team that's peer-led and everything's locked in from the get-go, you find that out within the first 3 games, what this team's identity, what this team's motive is. But here, late in the year, been up and down all season, whether the offense has played well and the defense hasn't, or if a defense playing well against LSU and the offense struggling, Coach Saban still trying to figure out what are we, who are we as a team, as a program in terms of this year. And I go back to a point I mentioned on Wednesday. The 2015 team was in the same situation, coming off a loss to Ole Miss at home before it faced Georgia. And it was an underdog in that matchup going on the road to Athens, Sanford Stadium, between the hedges. It was a game against Louisiana Monroe. And that 2015 Bama team, they took the field at Bryant-Denny. I think that was an early game as well. Was it 11 a.m.? Not sure, but it was an early game. That team took it to Monroe. They beat them down. They rolled them over. They handled business. They let it do what it do out there on the field. Defense, no communication breakdowns. Defense, guys pursuing the ball. Defense, sacking quarterbacks. Defense, forcing turnovers. Defense, making plays. Defense, suffocating, stifling, shut the Warhawks off the scoreboard. Offense, Jacob Coker scored touchdowns. Offense, the run game played well. Offense, Ardarius Stewart, Calvin Ridley, both got into the end zone. So if that team handled business back in 2015 and after a loss, of course, to Ole Miss and found a way to run the table, this group right here, starting on Saturday, what is the mindset of this team? What is the motivation of this team? What is the focus of this team? Does this team feel like we can be great? Does this team feel like it can be dominant? Does this team feel like it can be marquee? Because hearing Coach Saban on Thursday for the upteenth time talk about we don't know who we are. We don't know what we are. We don't know what our identity is. We have not quite located that. That's not a good thing. That's a very scary thing. That's a very suspect thing. That's not like Alabama to not know what your identity is, what your goal is in terms of a team, and you're 9 games into the season. So Alabama fans definitely want to know, what you think right now. How do you feel right now? Do you sense, can this team, in your opinion, will this team find an identity, find the purpose, find the goal, find itself late in the season as it tries to continue the journey of getting to the SEC championship and, most importantly, trying to get into the college football playoff and compete for a national title? But, folks, we're going to go to a break here on the show. Don't touch that dial. We're just getting started, cranked up on a Friday. Upon our return, we go to the phone lines. We take your calls. We take your thoughts. We take your conversations. We got a dialogue with you, the Tide Nation, after this.
You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace today by visiting weownthefourthquarter.com. Throw them foes up.
9 players have teamed up and released the Alabama Team Paper, which is a video yearbook they've put out for sale direct to fans. Now, for the first time, small dollar purchases from the fans can support the players as a group as well as a great cause, because $1 of every subscription payment is donated to the Boys and Girls Club of America. Be a 5-star fan base and support your team and a great cause with Team Paper. Check it out at teampaper.com/Alabama.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
As we are back in from the break, number 1 form for Bama. Football news on a Friday, TGIF edition of the show. Number 1 form for Crimson Tide football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Even with all of the scrutiny he's been getting from fans as a first-year offensive coordinator for Alabama, Nick Saban sticking up for Bill O'Brien, saying, I actually think he's done a good job in his assessment of O'Brien. But Billy O better have his A++ game in terms of calling plays and coordinating this offense on Saturday. But we got a couple of super chats to get to. My man Randy Harris is in the building. Randy Harris, that $20 donation, helping us out here on the show. And for the man Jimmy the Bad Man Clay, he walks in here with that $25 donation, helping us right here. Appreciate Randy Harris and Jimmy Clay. The daily super chat goal, $75. Daily super chat goal. Appreciate the love from all of you. But we go to the phone lines right now to grab your calls. Call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. That's the number right there, 205-448-1358. Let's grab some calls. We take our first call of the evening. You're live on the show. What's up? What's happening? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Stephen, how you doing?
Doing great, man. How you feeling?
Good. This is Coach Johnson from Hoover, Alabama High School football team.
Coach Johnson, what's happening, man?
Good. I got 2 questions for you. The first question I'm asking is, getting ready for this game against New Mexico State, how do you think that defense will play against them?
I think, my thing would be that defense is going to go out there and show it's turned a corner from the LSU game. Defense against LSU played like crazy in the second half, and the one thing it would like to show fans and itself, most importantly, is that it's turned a corner and it stifles, it suffocates New Mexico State. Now, does it give up a field goal at the end or a garbage touchdown at the end? Maybe, maybe not. But I do want to see, for much of this game, that defense suffocate New Mexico State, absolutely.
And my final thing to say, I got 3 guys down here in Hoover, Alabama for the football team. One guy in Kai Mayoa, R.J. Hamilton, and Lamarion McCammon. Looking forward to seeing Bama recruits. And those are three guys that have led this program to two high school football division state championships. And I'm looking to see if at least maybe two of them out of three. I want all of them to go to Bama, but at least see one of them. Would be a great thing.
Absolutely. That'd be something to get our own Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, on that right there. Appreciate that call right there from the coach out of Hoover High School. We take this call here. You're live on the show on a Friday. What's happening? What's going on? State your name and where you're calling from.
Well, it's Friday. Everybody's looking for the weekend. I'll tell you what, this old president wasn't here. I thought I'd call in and say a few little words, make it quick here tonight. We still want to wish Cecil Hurt the best prayers
Absolutely.
we can. And yeah, Cecil was a legend at the Tuscaloosa News. You know, Cecil's a great man. Let's keep him in our prayers. He's got pneumonia in the hospital. Everybody remember him. And having the paper back then as a person of my age and a lot of people in here was a very important platform to get your information from. So, that's all we had. So we need to remember Cecil. And everybody in the chat, I see everybody, hello. Cities, towns, and the countries and states, y'all looking good. TDA loves y'all. Know Wayland does too. I tell you all the donations. God bless every one of you. Like I said, I was going to make it quick. Maybe Alabama do good tomorrow. No trash field goals, no trash touchdowns. I hope they find that identity. And I'm going to get out of here. All y'all stay safe. Y'all have a great weekend. I love all y'all. Y'all remember Cecil, Stephen, y'all doing a good job. John, Justin, I love all y'all. I'll see all y'all next week. Have a safe weekend. Bye-bye, everyone.
Appreciate waiting for the call right there. Got to shout out the man 6-0 with that $75 donation helping us out here on the show. Appreciate the love from my man 6-0. That daily super chat goal of $75 has been met. Appreciate the love from all of you. I did not do this on Wednesday, and let me go ahead and do this right now. Want to give a shout out to all the veterans. Hopefully you guys enjoyed Veterans Day, all the brave men and women fighting for our country, protecting the rights we all hold so dear in the greatest country in the world, the U.S. of A. Got to give a shout out to my dad, Kenneth Smith, who served in the military, spent some time in the Navy. So, Pops, if you're watching the show, appreciate all the service that you did and all the veterans out there. We grab a call here. You are live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Good evening, Stephen. This is Kevin from Dallas, Georgia. How you doing this evening?
Kevin, big man, what's happening with you?
I got to just go and get this off my chest, Stephen. I didn't have the opportunity as far as to get in as far as on Monday and or Wednesday, but it's just a matter of just wanting to just share this as far as with the listeners, with the viewers, and that is as far as the DC as well as the OC. The one thing that DC bring, as far as Pete Golden brings to the table that, hey, you can't get rid of him for is that, hey, he recruits the blankety blank out of Louisiana. Now, as far as Bill O'Brien is concerned, Stephen, I'd like to make one request as far as tomorrow. Because I think that the only reason why Coach O'Brien has not been able to get out of the press box, because I was told that either you or Mr. Ivory locked the press box, so he can't go down to the field as far as to break his foot off into the hindquarters, gluteus maximus, derriere, posterior of any of the O-linemen or any of the guys on the offensive side of the ball. But you all please unlock the press box that on one occasion over these next 3 games, regular season, as well as postseason, that he can matriculate down the steps or the elevator, because I haven't been in Bryant-Denny before to make it to the field. And my biggest concern over these next few weeks, Stephen, than our exit stage left is, although it pains me that Mr. Banks as well as Mr. Williams have entered the transfer portal, I'm more so concerned over these next 3 weeks as far as those young men that are parts of the class of 20 and 21. Because as we all know, even Stevie Wonder can see that the strengths of this team as far as on the talent side is the young man, or are the young men as far as from the classes of 20 and 21. So that is my biggest concern, is that hopefully starting tomorrow, and as far as Arkansas as well as Auburn, that these young men that will, quote, the best class of all time as far as the class of 21, then also that strong class that Mr. Anderson was a part of, that they'll have the opportunity to shine a little bit, get some run as far as over these next 3 weeks, because that is my biggest concern, listeners, viewers, is that the young men as far as in those 2 classes exit stage right. Thanks for listening to me, Stephen. I'll hang up and let someone else get on.
Appreciate that call to my man Kevin there out of Georgia. We'll try to make sure we can get Bill O'Brien on the field for this week's matchup. But we take a call right here. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Yeah, Stephen Sam Falstrom calling out of Dallas, Texas. Sir, how you doing?
Doing fantastic, Sam. How you feeling?
I'm great, Stephen. I just want to say a little bit, man, about Bill O'Brien. And I wasn't able to get on, like the young man just said, prior to me on Monday and Wednesday. He's exactly right. We need to get Bill O'Brien on the field. He needs to feel, he needs to smell the atmosphere. I know he's probably still in the press box because he don't want to get chewed out on national TV by Nick Saban, but he has to come on the field, Stephen, especially these last 3 games because they're pivotal. He needs to feel the atmosphere because if he doesn't feel the atmosphere, he doesn't get the full effect of what's going on the field. So that's a problem for me.
That's a good thought right there. Sam, that's a good thought right there. And it brings a point that I mentioned on Wednesday when you look at having Lane Kiffin on the field, when you had Dable on the field and Loxley and Sarkisian, it did so much for the quarterback play because if that quarterback was slightly nervous, he can look toward the sideline and that OC was right there saying, hey, I got you. Whether it was Lane Kiffin with Blake Sims, Jalen Hurts, Steve Sarkisian with Tua, Mac Jones, what Loxley did, what Dable did. They all had the quarterback's best interest right there on the sideline. So I agree with that. Appreciate Sam, my man from Texas, for that call. We grab a call here. You're live on the show on a Friday. What's going on? What's happening? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, this is Max from Boston. How you doing tonight?
Doing great, Max. What's going on with you?
I just got 2 questions here. One is, what's your take on Damani Jackson? Do you think we're going to get him? And then second question is, when you look at all the recruiting services and the rankings of the which has the best class, which of the services do you hold do you think carries the most weight, is the most and are the most accurate?
I'll say this. I dabble a bit in recruiting, but the guy that knows it all is Justin Smith, who covers recruiting for us right here at Touchdown Alabama magazine. And Justin has done an incredible job, on the trail. And just, his stuff, Justin's stuff is the most accurate right here at TDA because that guy is out there looking at every recruit, every target, every athlete, every guy. He is in the car. He is driving from Florida to Tennessee to Texas to Georgia to Mississippi, Kentucky. Justin Smith's driving. He's out everywhere covering these kids, scouting these young men, watching them. So Justin Smith, Touchdown Alabama, that's the guy right there. And his show, The Process, if you haven't watched the show, Justin has a show called The Process on this YouTube channel every Tuesday and every Thursday where he breaks down recruiting. He looks at the top targets. He looks at who's Bama is valuing on the recruiting trail. He's talking to recruits. He's interviewing parents. Justin is out there full-fledged center. So if you want recruiting, if you really value recruiting, you got to check out my man Justin Smith. Appreciate that call there from my man Max out of Boston. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's up? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from. But before we get to that call, we got a topic to switch here as my man John Ivory keep me in order here. Quick topic, and this goes to Xavier Williams, the former 4-star from the 2018 class. The talented wide receiver has entered his name into the transfer portal that happened on today. And Ziggy has not played at all this season due to medical issues that plagued him back in the spring and in the summer. Coach Saban talked about it. A talented guy, a jack of all trades, a guy that brings a lot of things to the table, especially with his leadership, but with the medical issues, just was not able to get on the field this season, out for this year. And prior to those issues coming in, I thought, and a lot of people thought, that this would be the year that Zig could get on the field and do his thing, especially after he came down the stretch so strong last season in matchups against Florida in the SEC championship game, against Notre Dame in the college football playoff, even against Ohio State, making plays in that matchup. But wish Williams the best, wish Xavier the utmost best, wherever he chooses to go to. But Xavier Ziggy Williams in the transfer portal. We grab a call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where we calling from.
Charles calling from Demopolis.
Charles is in here, baby. What's up, Charles?
Nothing.
What you got? What you got today, Charles? What you got?
Alabama got to worry about New Mexico State. We're gonna lose.
Alabama not gonna lose to New Mexico State, Charles. It's got to play a complete game. It's got to make work out of New Mexico State quick. But Bama ain't gonna lose to New Mexico State, Charles. You all right?
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
I got you, Charles. I got
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Charles from Demopolis, baby. Wanting to make sure Bama does not take no L to New Mexico State. Charles is a legend, y'all. Gotta love Charles from D-Mop right there. But, folks, we're going to go to a break right here on the show. Don't touch that dial, because when we get back, there's some changes, some shakeups going on here on the offensive line, some potential alterations happening, and we'll touch on that after this.
This is Matt Caddell, former Alabama wide receiver, and you're listening to In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith with Touchdown Alabama Magazine. And I got 2 words to say, baby. Roll Tide.
You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace at weownthefourthquarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your 4-finger bling necklace right now at weownthefourthquarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
All right, people. We're back in from the break on a Friday. TGIF edition of the show, number 1 form for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Appreciate everybody for writing in, calling in, texting in, donating in, making this your show, your channel, your network, your platform for all things Crimson Tide football. But now we get into this right here, the Alabama offensive line. So there is some change. There's some changes being made, some alterations being done, a little bit of a shakeup, if you will, happening on the offensive line. Starting this thing off with Darian Dalcourt, the 4-star from Maryland, came in the 2019 class. He's been playing at center all season to this point, and he suffered a lateral ankle sprain against LSU. So Coach Saban has been mentioning all week that he's day-to-day, he's uncertain, can't quite make a call on whether he will play or not against New Mexico State. Now, me personally, I would not play Darian against New Mexico State. I would get this young man healthy for Arkansas, for Auburn, and in the postseason, I would not put this guy out here against the Aggies. But if he looks like, Coach, I'm good to go, I want to play, I'm good, then we know Coach Saban's going to put the man out there on the field, because Saban's going to always ask the player, are you good to go? Do you feel like you can do your job? Are you prepared? That player says, yeah, of course Saban's going to put the guy on the field. But to me, I would not put the guy out there, but Dalcourt still dealing with that lateral ankle injury. He's uncertain right now as to whether he will go tomorrow against New Mexico State. So that puts Alabama at 2 options here for center. Chris Owens or sophomore Seth McLaughlin. That's what we're looking at right now. Chris Owens to this side, or to this side on the screen, and on the other side, sophomore Seth McLaughlin. Now, Chris Owens has played at center a lot in his career. You go back to last season when Landon Dickerson went down with a knee injury against Florida in the SEC championship game. Owens came in, did his job, performed well, helped Alabama win the national championship. So Owens has experience there, but Seth McLaughlin is one of 3 offensive linemen that Alabama signed in the 2020 class, according to the Touchdown Alabama Magazine independent recruiting rankings done by our own Justin Smith. McLaughlin was a 3-star out of Beaufort, Georgia. Now, McLaughlin, here's a young man that Coach Saban said on Thursday, we like his intangibles. He's got the intangibles needed to play at the center position. He's improved. He's tough. He's physical. He's competitive. Really like what he brings to the table. This is coming from one Coach Saban. And going back to Justin Smith here for just a minute, Justin has spent a lot of time scouting, analyzing, going down to Beaufort High School. He's looked at a lot of guys, a lot of young athletes from that area. And in terms of McLaughlin here's a guy that as a junior in as a senior in 2019, this is a guy that literally graded out at 91% on his blocking assignments, gave up 1 sack, 2 quarterback hurries, a guy that helped Beaufort total 467 total points, 3,400 yards rushing by its backs as a whole, a guy that also helped the Wolves win a state championship. I mean, the guy played all over the offensive line. He played all 5 positions from right tackle to left tackle, but he was the most dominant at center. You watch his tape, the guy's a mauler. He pushes guys down. He attacks at the point. He works up to the second level and takes on a linebacker. High, strong IQ, very intelligent out there, getting assignments done on the field in terms of communicating the blitz pickup, communicating the blocking assignments, whether these are man blocking, zone blocking, gap blocking in the run game or in the pass protection game. The guy just gets it. And going back to Justin, one of the things he mentioned about McLaughlin in high school, very consistent guy. He's versatile, but he's consistent. Snapping the ball, consistent. No bad snaps. Consistent. Working up to the second level. Consistent. Getting his hands on defensive linemen, driving them into the ground. Consistent. Mauling guys up front. Consistent. Taking on those blitz protection schemes. And one of the things that Coach Saban likes for his offensive linemen, especially at the center position, because your nucleus, your control command center at that center spot there, Saban loves guys who can be technically sound and consistent every single play, every single snap, every single possession. Bama has had some moments this season where, Darian Dalcourt, some bad snaps, where they'd be too high, too low, off to the sides, but some bad snaps. Alabama has also had some situations with Chris Owens, despite his experience, with some bad snaps. Seth McLaughlin, one of the best things he did in high school, consistently snapping the ball well, getting it up to the quarterback, not breaking off that timing, and having the offense flow in full, succinct rhythm there. So that's what he does really, really well out there up front at that position. So Coach Saban talking about this on Thursday. He likes the intangibles. He likes the technique. He likes the consistency. He thinks this young man from Georgia very much so improved. The 3-star Seth McLaughlin. If Darian Dalcourt does not go against New Mexico State, McLaughlin is the one that will be on the field getting the opportunity at the center position. And there's been some good centers to come through this program. Bama has had some big-time centers to come through Tuscaloosa under the Saban era when you discuss Antoine Caldwell. I mean, that young brother did his thing. When you look at William Vlahos, who blocked for a Heisman Trophy winner in Mark Ingram, a Doak Walker Award winner in Trent Richardson, and then there's Barrett Jones, who blocked for a big season for A.J. McCarron in 2012, and his protection to A.J. McCarron allowed Amari Cooper to have a 1,000-yard season as a freshman. Also, his protection and his blocking ability, that being Barrett Jones, allowed for Alabama to have 2 1,000-yard backs that season in Eddie Lacy and T.J. Yeldon. If you look at Ryan Kelly, to me, one of the most intelligent, one of the most high IQ centers to ever come inside the program, Ryan Kelly was the real deal, helping Derrick Henry, first 2,000-yard rusher of a Saban era at Alabama, also Heisman Trophy winner in the 2015 season. Ryan Kelly did a big job there at center. Behind Ryan Kelly, there was Bradley Bozeman, who was very serviceable at that spot, at that center position. And then the one that everybody just fell in love with head over heels, Landon Dickerson, the boy LD, overalls and all, when he took that center spot in 2019, fused an entire group together, and Dickerson at Control Command Center last season had an offensive line, or a guided an offensive line, that won the Joe Moore Award, among other things, and also helping Alabama go wire to wire, perfect undefeated national championship season. But, and just pulling out here, Barrett Jones, Landon Dickerson, and Ryan Kelly for just a moment, all three of these individuals won the Remington Trophy, and that award goes to college football's top center, college football's most outstanding center, the guy in the middle that gets everything done consistently, gets everything done well, technically sound, highly effective. You don't have to be the biggest guy at center, but you do have to have some physicality. But even though you may not be the biggest guy, can you be the most consistent guy? Can you be the most technically sound guy? Can you be the most communicative guy and getting the calls made once that ball is snapped, working your assignments, taking on that defensive lineman, getting up to that linebacker, showing that meanness even as a center at the front of that line? And all three of those guys, Jones, Dickerson, and Kelly, did that. So when you look at a Seth McLaughlin, here's a big opportunity for him of a 3-star in the 2020 class. Should he take this field against New Mexico State, big shot for him. But another area here on the offensive line for me is right tackle. As much as we're looking at Damian George getting the playing time, getting the starting opportunity at right tackle. And Damian George, he's got potential, came in as a 4-star in 2020 from Texas, but just want to see, at what point could we see the freshman J.C. Latham get that look, the 5-star? I just want to kind of see, at what point could we see Latham get that look? Because after this year, Alabama loses Evan Neal, and I know that's scary just thinking about that. But after this year, Alabama loses Evan Neal. So you're going to have to find yourself 2 offensive tackles anyway. So what's the issue with at least just seeing what J.C. Latham can bring, can provide? Because when I talk to players, it's this guy has an unbelievable ceiling. He has huge potential, massive potential, marquee potential. And we've seen freshmen start on this Alabama offensive line in the Saban era a ton of times, whether that was a Cam Robinson, whether it was an Alex Leatherwood, whether it was an Evan Neal, whether it was a Jedrick Wills, whether it was a Cyrus Kwanjo. We've seen freshmen on the offensive line get that opportunity. And if what people are saying, if what these players are saying about Latham is true, accurate, legit, what's the holdup on getting this young man on the field? And let's see what we see here, from him. But, Damian George, as of right now, getting most of those looks there at right tackle for Alabama. In terms of offensive guard, not seeing any type of shakeup right now. Would love to see a Tommy Brown get a look, or a Pierce Quick get a look, or one of those guys at that guard position. But right now, the biggest piece of information, people, is at center. If Darian Dalcourt cannot go against New Mexico State, keep your eyes on number 56, the sophomore Seth McLaughlin out of Beaufort, Georgia. Nick Saban really likes the intangibles he brings here at that spot in the middle. But we go to a break right now, folks, on the show. Don't touch that dial. When we get back, we return to the phone lines to get your calls, your thoughts, your interactions, your chats, your conversations. Ring those phones. We're coming back to you after this.
Don't touch that dial. Call in right now as we're taking your calls up next on In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Visit WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com now to get your four-finger bling necklace.
This is Chris Rogers, 2009 national champion. You are listening to the baddest, when I say the baddest, sports show in the state of Alabama. In my own words, you know, yours truly, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Don't touch that dial.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to WhitwellSports.com and get your Title Towel today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama. If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to STSFootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to STSFootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today.
And we're back in, folks. We are back into the action here from the break. If I'm on form for Bama football news, in my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine, TGIF edition of the show. And we appreciate everybody for writing in, texting in, tweeting in, chatting in, donating in, making this your platform, your show, your channel. We got shout out Gucci Tide with that $10 donation, helping us out here, showing love on the show. We go to the phone lines right now to take your calls. Call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. The number to call in to let your voice be heard on the show, 205-448-1358. And as you're getting your thoughts together here to get those calls, we're going to go to a quick topic right here, and that's one Tua Tagovailoa, former Alabama quarterback with the Miami Dolphins. What a moment he had last night on Thursday Night Football. He did not start the game because of a fractured middle finger on his throwing hand, broken middle finger. So he's on the bench in the first half. Jacoby Brissett starts the game. Brissett was okay. He was decent, not too bad. But then Brissett gets hurt, suffers a knee injury in the first half. Tua comes off the bench in the third quarter, and by goodness, 8 of 13 passes completed for 156 yards, had a rushing touchdown, averaged 12.2 yards per pass attempt, had a passer rating of 104. Tua was on it last night, and the Dolphins got a huge, stunning, shocking victory, 22-10 over Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. But the best part was, Tua comes off the field, the crowd's chanting, Tua, Tua, Tua. I mean, the brother got a standing ovation. The crowd's like, don't leave us, Tua, don't leave us. We love you, man. Everybody, the fans are behind him. The fans are behind Tua Tagovailoa. And this feels so good especially after, Tua dealing with all these trade rumors, all of these trade talks involving Deshaun Watson. You had the media trying to pull it out of Brian Flores. Is you going to trade Tua or not? The general manager, Chris Greer, has to get involved. So just so happy that Tua was able to have that moment on Thursday Night Football, getting that win. We grab a call here, though. You're live on the show. What's going on? What's happening? State your name and where you're calling from.
Brother Stephen, the great Stephen M. Smith. It's a pleasure to be on the call with you, sir. How are you tonight?
Man, doing fantastic. And yourself?
Very good. Thank you. This is T. Harris from Chattanooga. I just want to call and make a couple of statements here. First of all, avid Alabama fan, been around all my life, ever since the last few years of Bear Bryant. So I've been watching Alabama football all my life, and I've tracked the Saban era, and the Saban era has been great. I have all confidence in Coach Saban. I think he's done a wonderful job. But recently what I've noticed is a lack of that enthusiasm, that old school enthusiasm, that sis, boom, rah, rah on the sideline. And my concern comes with Saban and some of the calls he's been making lately. And I know Kirby had to go. That's his dream job. You got to go. But Scott Cochran, a guy like Scott Cochran who was itching to get on the field to coach, and letting him go, one of those core members of that staff. And now with the staff turnover and the big questions that we have about Pete Golding and the questions that we have about the offensive coordinator, and they tend to take these games when they really don't prepare. I really don't think we were prepared for LSU offensively, and I really don't think we were prepared for Texas A&M defensively. So they've got these lapses, and then the last thing in those scenarios is that you have is that good coach that can keep you motivated and keep you pumped up on the sideline. And I think that's something that we're missing, some tangibles. And Stephen, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that as far as the coaching, because I did see the thing with Bo Davis. I heard about that recording this weekend, and I heard it, and I didn't see a problem with it. That's the type of language and the type of motivation and enthusiasm that I know when I played that I had. And I know that's what the Texas players need, although I could care less. But I know that's something I've paid attention to that's missing at Alabama. Stephen, can you give me your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And I've mentioned this before. There was going to come a point where the coaching turnover was going to really bite, because when you lose coaches, when you have a coach that you know what that guy is going to give you and how important that is to a team, you got to find every way possible to not let that walk out the door. And Scott Cochran was one of those guys that those players saw him every day. If they didn't see Nick Saban every day, if they didn't see the position coach every day, they saw Scott Cochran every day. He was an ear for them to talk to, but he was the guy that got everybody pumped up, everybody sort of motivated. And I get it, you have to be self-motivating first. Players have to motivate themselves, absolutely. But it just adds another element and dynamic, right? When you have a coach that, while self-motivation is outstanding, to have a coach that pulls it more out of you, that's something special also. So that's the coaching turnover there, but appreciate TA there for that call. We grab this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Stephen, this is Mike from Kentucky. How you doing tonight,
Mike's
brother?
back. What's going on, Mike?
Well, got a fire going in the stove, just relaxing on the couch, checking out a little YouTube. I saw your show, so I thought I'd give you a call, brother.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we may have taken a step back on the offense and defensive coordinators. I mean, like you said, the coaching carousel, you ain't going to hit blackjack every time. And that may be part of the problem. But, I watched last week's game against LSU. The defense stood up big when they had to.
They did.
And, to tell you the truth, that game really doesn't surprise me, Stephen, because LSU always brings their best game when they play Bama. And I remember a stretch back when Les Miles was coaching them, man, them boys outplayed us 3 out of 5 game stretch that we won consecutively, but we could have very easily lost 3 of those games. So, to tell you the truth, I expect nothing less out of Auburn. I expect nothing less out of Arkansas. And I think Bama's going to be okay. I think we'll get to the playoffs. I think we'll beat Georgia in the championship game. Just when you think Bama's out of it, they come up big. I think we're saving our best ball for the end of the season, and that's when you want them to be playing the best balls at the end of the season. I'm gonna have to keep a positive spin on it. I'd like to see some coaches come in that would stick around more than a year or two. I'd like to really, I don't know. A lot of people want the defensive coordinator out of there. If Clemson stays in disarray, I would be trying to get their defensive coordinator. I really would. I think he's a Bama boy. He'll stick around, and I don't think Nick Saban will have to worry about that till he's done. What do you think, Stephen?
If Alabama can get its hands on Brent Venables and pull him from Clemson, that would be a huge deal right there. And I thought about it. I know people have said, well, what about Pete Golding? Pete Golding is great in recruiting, and Pete Golding is great in recruiting. But if you didn't want him to be a DC, if I was Saban, I would have Pete Golding in an all-field role. That way he could still recruit. But when you're a defensive coordinator at Alabama, there's a huge expectation above your head. And right now, Golding, it's like there's moments he gets it, and then there's moments where he still kind of struggles with it. That's just my thought. But I appreciate Mike from Kentucky there for that call there. We're going to go to a break here, folks. Don't touch that down. When we get back, we're going to get into the Heisman conversation in terms of Will Anderson. He is being endorsed for the coveted Bronze Award. Is it time to see a defensive player finally win the Heisman? We'll touch on Will Anderson after this.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to stsfootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to stsfootwear.com and get your All Bama sneakers today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
We're back in, baby, from the break of a number one form for Bama Crimson Tide. Football news, in my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Appreciate everybody for checking us out on today, writing in, calling in, donating in, texting in, making this your platform, your show, your networking channel to talk your program. To be in Alabama football. But before we get into the final topic of conversation, got to remind you of TDAwear.com. That's TDAwear.com. For all of you fans still overjoyed with the Crimson Tide's national championship from the 2020 campaign, we want you to check out our championship collection merch. This means you grab you an 18 of them things, spoke hoodie, T-shirt or sweatshirt, as well as our Got 18 We Do shirts, designs that feature all 18 championship years in the back. You head on over to TDAwear.com. Do it right now. TDAwear.com. Go over Championship Collections merch tab and get you that gear today, showing that support for Coach Saban, the University of Alabama, the student athletes, and us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine. But here we go here. So, the Heisman Memorial Trophy. we are getting to the point in the season where this Heisman Trophy conversation is starting to really build, starting to really pump up here. So the Heisman normally is an offensive award. It's an offensive popularity award. It normally goes to quarterbacks. We've seen a lot of we've seen running backs get this award. It was awesome this past year to see a receiver and Devontae Smith for Alabama get this award. Alabama has had 3 players in its history win the Heisman, all 3 coming under Nick Saban. Mark Ingram 2009, Derrick Henry 2015, Devontae Smith once again last year. But the coveted bronze honor, the Heisman Trophy, typically an offensive award, but is it time that a defensive player rises up and takes hold of the Heisman and wins it? Because the last defensive player to win this honor, 1997, Charles Woodson, cornerback out of Michigan. Now, of course, Woodson had to do some offensive things to win the Heisman despite being a defensive player. Had to return some kicks, had to return some punts. Probably had to play receiver here and there to build up that Heisman profile. But his primary position was cornerback, defensive back, won the Heisman in 97. But as of right now, as we speak, the Alabama players are endorsing Will Anderson for the Heisman. It's happened all week, whether it was Malachi Moore tweeting Will Anderson for Heisman, or Henry To'o putting his 2 cents out there, DJ Dale putting his 2 cents out there, Jameson Williams putting his 2 cents out there. Multiple players have come out for Alabama endorsing Anderson for the Heisman. Now, of course, Will himself, he's going to deflect attention off that. He's going to say, I ain't focused on the Heisman, man. I just want that natty. That natty, all I want, that natty is all I care about, man. I don't care about the Heisman. I just want that natty. And, of course, when players say that, you go, well, give him the Heisman, too. Give him the Heisman anyway. And look how great this is. Give him the Heisman. Just go ahead and give it to him when they have been such a successful asset to the team. And when you talk Will, this is a young man, 4-time SEC Defensive Player of the Week. That's Derek Thomas type stuff. 4-time SEC Defensive Player of the Week. He has twice earned the Chuck Bednarik Player of the Week honor. This is a guy that's a semifinalist for the Bednarik Award from the Maxwell Football Club. And if you take Will Anderson away from this defense, this Alabama defense is nothing. This Alabama defense is rock bottom. This Alabama defense is not good at all. You take Will Anderson, you remove Will, you remove the Terminator from this group. This is a defense that could have lost to Florida. This is a defense that could have lost to LSU. I mean, you take Will Anderson from this defense, this is a sad ordeal here. So I go back to the Heisman Trophy not only goes to the most important player and the most outstanding player in college football, but also the player that means the most to their team. 2009, Mark Ingram meant the most to Alabama. 2015, Derrick Henry meant the most to Alabama. 2020, Devontae Smith, as great as Mac Jones was, and Mac Jizzle was the man, but Devontae Smith meant the most to Alabama. Nick Saban will tell you. When you look at this team right here, Will Anderson, as great as Bryce Young has been, and Young has been phenomenal, a truck carrying this offense, but you remove Will Anderson from this defense, Houston, we got a problem on our hands. So Will Anderson, real big deal here. And this is a Will Anderson that 21 tackles for loss, has the most of any player of the Saban era for a single season. Prior to Anderson, it was Quinnen Williams, 2018, who had 19 and a half tackles for loss, which was the previous high there for a single season. Anderson, 10 and a half sacks. He is tied for 5th all-time for a single season. When you look at sharing that number with Jonathan Allen from 2016, Tim Williams from 2015, and of course the bookends, Eric Curry, John Copeland from 1992. This young man is the closest thing Will Anderson is the closest thing that U.S. fans have seen to Derek Thomas in a long time. And I remember John back last year. Last year when we were shooting the show from Tuscaloosa, it was Valentine's Day. I had on a pink shirt. We had the roses on set. And one of my segments was on Will Anderson being the closest thing to Derek Thomas people I've seen in a long time. And people laughed me to a scum. What is he talking about? This guy knows absolutely nothing about football. Man, kill yourself, Stephen M. Smith. You know nothing, but look at what's going on. We've seen so many coaches comparing Will Anderson to who? Derek Thomas. Being able to move him around from one side to the other side, affecting the opposing team's quarterback. People, the guy that's the next closest to Will in terms of tackles for loss, Byron Young with 7.5. There's a gap. 21, 7.5. Huge gap right there. That just tells you how marquee Anderson is. Anderson, in terms of total tackles, he's got 65 on the season, second behind Henry To'o. But Will leads the team in solo tackles with 34. The guy is just absolutely everywhere. He is dominant. He is wreaking havoc. He is making big play after big play. And while you've got guys like Mel Kiper Jr., rating Kayvon Thibodeau of Oregon as one of the top draft prospects coming out for 2022. Will Anderson way more disruptive than what Kayvon Thibodeau is. So to me, I think it's high time to start looking at a defensive player for the Heisman Trophy. You remove Will Anderson from this team, this is no defense. You remove Will Anderson from the SEC, then you're removing one of the best pass rushers in not only just the conference, but in all of college football. He deserves some votes. He deserves even more endorsements. I think definitely it's been more than time to have a defensive player take home this honor right here, the coveted bronze trophy. But that's just my spiel on that. But fans, if you're trying to get the best in news, notes, information, and coverage on your favorite program, that being the Alabama Crimson Tide, you can get this by accessing the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. You download the app from the iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store if you have the Android phone. For your audio listening needs, we got you right here, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, Overcast.fm, or iHeartRadio. The good and gracious Lord sees fit. I'll be back on Monday, continuing the conversation that is Bama football. Remember, Tide fans, you can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Have those sent to your door. Link found in the description. Also, you're trying to get that fresh edition, print edition of TDA the magazine. Here's what you do. You go to touchdownalabama.com. touchdownalabama.com. You click join, become a member, a subscriber today. That link in the description too. If you're trying to get the 4-finger bling necklace, 4-finger bling jewelry, courtesy of weownthefourthquarter.com. That link in the description. Check out the watch party tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Central Time on YouTube. The guys, the Fun Gang, John Ivory, Justin Smith will have you rocking and rolling on YouTube. Watch party for New Mexico State, 10:30 a.m. Central Time. I'll be chatting in there as well. So if you have not found your Alabama football family that you can chat, talk football, have fun with, check us out on YouTube tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Central Time. TDA Watch Party with John Ivory and Justin Smith. But till next time, folks, husbands, love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands' children. You've made it to the weekend, but still, do the right thing, fun thing, smart thing, good thing, legitimate thing to not be bored. You grab yourself those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. You protect yourself. You protect the loved ones around you. Till next time, folks, enjoy the game tomorrow. I see you guys on Monday. It's your man, Stephen M. Smith. You've been listening to In My Own Words.